Before we actually started replanking the bow, we also had a number of things to do inside the hull. The heel ends, the bottom ends of the framing, a lot of that was a little bit compromised, so we had to cut off the ends and scarf new end pieces into the bottom of the frames. There was also a number of floor timbers up there which tie the frames from one side of the hull to the other side of the hull, and those were all bad. A lot of the damage was caused by the original steel fasteners they used when they constructed the boat, and as the steel rusts, it compromises the integrity of the wood and pretty much just blows it apart. Once we realized that there were a number of broken frames in the generator compartment, we sat down, we made the decision, are we going to just put sister frames alongside of them, or are we going to take the frames out entirely and replace them? And because at this point the deck is off the boat, this would be our only opportunity to really effectively replace the frames. The first thing I did was come down to the office and make a phone call to the sawmill. One of the things for steam bending wood is you want to have it as freshly sawn as possible. It's what we refer to as green wood. The moisture content is very high. When you put it in the steam box, it steams very well as far as making it very pliable, and that's the best type of wood to actually take the bends and the contours to get inside the hull.
So when the frames come out of the steam box, what you end up with is something that is hot to the point that the cellular structure of the wood is molten to a degree. So it allows it to physically steam bend and go into position. But as soon as you take it out of the box, it's slowly starting to cool off and dry, means each cell is trying to harden again. So you're racing against the clock to get the frames in position and bent around in multiple bends before they start to harden up.
Hold on a second, George. You're just bent tighter. You're just bouncing.
Because at a certain point, it's too late and it won't move anymore, and you have to start over.
Got it.
So it's really critical to get the screws into the frame as soon as possible, just so it sucks it up against all the planking and it's where it needs to be as the wood dries and takes its shape.
Coming down. Hold on. Okay. In.
Stop. Go. Stop right there. Go. Hey George, can we get another stick like this about 44 to 44 and a half inches?
So there's some areas in the boat where you can't get clamps into, and you also don't have wedges, so we had to use wooden uprights that we were able to brace the frame from the deck that was above it, pushing the frame down against the keel to make sure that it was perfectly tight, the full length of the frame. Once we have a good head of steam in the steamer, it takes about an hour and a half to steam, maybe an hour and 3/4. Frames themselves are about 1 inch and 13/16 thick, and the rule of thumb is that it takes about an hour for every inch of thickness. So we let it steam for an hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours. The steam box we're using is actually an old one that we had custom made for an old cat boat, the Vim. We were doing the steam bending a new cabin front to it, which is it's a rounded front on the old cat boats, and it needed to be a pretty large size width-wise box.
So today, as we were steaming the frames, we had my dad removing the frames out of the box, and as soon as they came out of the box, we have a jig set up that he was able to give the frame a little bit of a pre-bend. He ran into the shop with the frame and handed it up to George. He was really the one that was forcing the frame into place. And then down at the turn of the bilge, we had Mark Donahue, who was helping to guide the frame in and clamp it into place. Down where the frame goes underneath the bilge stringer and down into the keel pocket, myself and Rich were working to make sure that all lined up and went in where it needed to go. So it was a real team effort to make sure that everything went smoothly and there weren't any hang-ups.
He's twisting big time.
So that one?
So as the work progresses, we realize that we do have a very limited time frame to get the work completed because they do want to have the boat back Memorial Day weekend and use it for the summer. So it will be an ongoing restoration over the course of either 2 or 3 winters, but we have to reach a stopping point where we know we can get what we've taken apart back together and have the boat finished, looking good, floating and operational for the coming season. Every day we make decisions as far as what we're going to do, where we're going to stop, what we're going to put off to next year, or whether it's even possible to put it off to next year, or whether it has to be done this year because it's opened up to the extent that it's opened up. We have a lot of systems that we've torn out of the boat. You know, the generator, all the tankage is out of the boat, the water tanks, the fuel tanks. A lot of the plumbing's gotten ripped out, some of the wiring. So it's a lot of things that all have to come back together in a very short time. At this point, we have less than 3 months.
Looks like right now.
Keep going outboard.
Outboard, okay.